The top stories tonight in Y News. The Philippines has detected its first 2 cases of the Omicron coronavirus variant as the World Health Organization warns that the variant is spreading faster than any previous strain.
Lawmakers from the Senate and House of Representatives approved the proposed 5.024 trillion budget for 2022 and will send it to President Rodrigo Duterte for signing into law.
And the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council has placed its operations center on red alert ahead of the onslaught of Typhoon Odette, which is expected to hit land over Caraga, Eastern Visayas by Thursday.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Wednesday, December 15, 2021. I am Herlene Delgado.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Tino.
First in the news. The inevitable has happened. The Philippines has detected its first 2 cases of the Omicron variant from 2 international travelers. The Department of Health is currently determining possible close contacts among co-passengers during the flights of these 2 cases. Aiko Bigel reports.
Among the 48 samples sequenced yesterday, the Philippine Genome Center and the National Institutes of Health detected 2 Omicron variants of concern in the Philippines. The first case is a returning overseas Filipino who arrived from Japan on December 1, 2021 via Philippine Airlines flight number PR0427. He had symptoms of colds and cough upon arrival. The sample was collected on December 5, 2021. His positive result was released on December 7, and the case was admitted in an isolation facility on the same date. He is currently asymptomatic. The second case was a Nigerian national who arrived from Nigeria on November 30, 2021 via Oman Air with flight number WY843. A sample was collected on December 6, 2021. And the result released on December 7, 2021. He was then admitted to an isolation facility on the same date. His current status is also asymptomatic. The DOH is determining possible close contacts among co-passengers based on the flight manifesto of these 2 cases. The DOH is verifying the test results and health status of all passengers of these flights to determine if there are other confirmed cases or passengers who became symptomatic after arrival. Travelers who have arrived in the Philippines through these flights may call the DOH COVID-19 hotlines or coordinate with their respective LGUs to report their status. Aside from these 2 Omicron cases, there were 33 positive for the Delta variant, while 13 had no lineage assigned. According to Octa Research Group fellow Professor Guido David, there might be another surge in NCR due to the Omicron variant, but the situation will not be similar with the onslaught of Delta variant.
Assuming we have the Omicron start spreading today, this is how it will look like. Right now, we're averaging, as I mentioned, less than 100 cases per day. And by the end of January, it will be at less than 800 cases per day with the reproduction number of 1.5. Is this catastrophic? No, it's not. In fact, it is relatively mild. If we compare it with the other surges we had in the past when we reached 5,000 cases.
Octa also said there could also be 6 ICU cases that will be recorded daily when Omicron variant spreads. However, these projections may change depending on the country's COVID-19 situation. The country's vaccination coverage is also a factor, and the surge of Omicron cases in the country will be less likely. Compared to UK and Gauteng, South Africa with Omicron cases, the Philippines has vaccinated more of its population. According to Health Secretary Francisco Duque III, they are also studying if the administration of booster doses can be shortened as additional protection versus Omicron.
Advancing the booster from 6 months to 3 months, is something that is being looked into by our vaccine expert panel. So we'll inform you right away. There seems to be a growing body of evidence that it will be beneficial if we advance the booster of people.
Former Health Secretary Dr. Manuel Dayrit shares the same insight with the health chief.
Coronavirus essentially mimics also the influenza, and the antibodies wane very, very quickly. So I think the issue is really about giving boosters much earlier. I think that's really not so much the biologic. I think a lot of it is logistical, and the fact that we probably don't have enough vaccines to go around. I would support, boosters within 3 to 4 months, as Secretary Duque said.
With the detection of the imported cases of Omicron variant, the department also urges everyone to adhere to safety and health protocols against COVID-19 and to ensure proper ventilation and avoid crowded areas. This holiday season, the public should avoid holding mass gatherings to curb the transmission of COVID-19. The DOH also urges those unvaccinated to get their COVID-19 jab during the second round of national vaccination days this December 15 to 17. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippines will remain under alert level 2 until December 31 despite a continued decline in daily COVID-19 cases. Rosalie Cos explains why.
The Office of President Rodrigo Duterte is aware of the first 2 cases of the Omicron variant detected in the country. Acting Presidential Spokesperson and Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles assures the public that the government closely monitors the developments of the 2 cases in light of the existing protocols. He appeals to everyone not to be complacent and strictly adhere to minimum public health standards. He also renews his call for those unvaccinated to get their COVID-19 shots as soon as possible. Meanwhile, the whole country will have to spend the rest of the year 2021 under COVID-19 Alert Level 2. This is due to more transmissible Omicron variant.
We are being very cautious because ito nga yung banta ng Omicron na nakikita natin sa ibang mga lugar, mga bansa, territories and jurisdictions na may positive na Omicron, lalo na ang local transmission ng Omicron, pataas ng pataas, no? Ang bilang ng COVID cases doon. At marami pa tayong hindi nalalaman tungkol sa Omicron.
The government is also not confident enough to place any area in the country under the least strict alert level. Many Filipinos are still unvaccinated against COVID-19.
Hindi pa talaga tayo ganun ka-confident to open up places for alert level 1 because we need to still ramp up our vaccination.
The guidelines on the implementation of community quarantines in the Philippines has been repealed, and the nationwide implementation of the alert level system for COVID-19 response has been adopted by the task force. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Philippines today logged 237 more cases of COVID-19, pushing the nationwide tally of confirmed infections to 2,836,915. The Department of Health, or DOH, said the latest count brought the country's active cases to 10,193. Of these cases, 3,876 are mild, 3,492 are moderate, 1,867 are severe, 567 are asymptomatic, and 391 are in critical condition. Meanwhile, recoveries rose to 2,776,273 after 565 more patients recovered from the disease. COVID-related deaths, however, climbed to 50,449 with 100 new fatalities. All accredited testing laboratories in the country were operational on December 12th, but 5 laboratories failed to submit data on time, the DOH noted in its report. Meanwhile, the overall global COVID-19 caseload has reached 271,491,447, while the deaths have surged to 5,320,993, according to the Johns Hopkins University. The United States is still the worst-hit country with the world's highest number of cases and deaths at 50,233,338 and 800,343 respectively. In terms of infections, India follows with 34,710,628 cases and 476,135 deaths. In terms of deaths, Brazil comes third with 616,970 fatalities.
To prepare for the looming threat of Typhoon Odette, local governments announced forced evacuation while several passengers and ports in various areas are stranded after sea travel was temporarily canceled. Meanwhile, 3 civilians were killed and 1 was injured after members of the New People's Army ambushed government troops in Surigao del Sur. Aileen Ceruda reports.
A total of 1,502 passengers, drivers, and cargo helpers were stranded in various ports in the country due to the threat of Typhoon Odette. The Philippine Coast Guard reports sea travel in several areas were temporarily suspended in preparation for the typhoon onslaught. Aside from the stranded passengers, 813 rolling cargoes and 10 sea vessels were unable to set sail, while 109 vessels and 52 motor bangkas are taking shelter as a precautionary measure. The agency said light to moderate sea conditions have been monitored in Bicol, northeastern Mindanao, and eastern Visayas. In Surigao del Sur, the provincial government announced a forced evacuation to prevent casualties or injuries amid the threat of Typhoon Odette. According to Governor Alexander Pimentel, around 2,000 residents were evacuated. They are currently taking shelter in the municipality of Carmen. Evacuation is still ongoing and relief goods are to be distributed to affected residents. Pimentel also assured health and safety protocols in evacuation centers are strictly followed.
Meron naman tayong mga PSW tanod na see to it na ma-observe ang protocol. Alam na nila ang gagawin nila kasi ilang beses na namin ito ginawa.
Meanwhile, 3 civilians were killed and a Sangguniang Kabataan representative was injured after suspected members of the New People's Army ambushed government troops earlier today in Carmen, Surigao del Sur. The government troops were assisting in the forced evacuation when armed men attacked. Pimentel appealed to the NPA to stop the attacks and cooperate with the government as the country faces another typhoon threat.
Hilingin ko sana yung mga NPA na wag galawin yung mga kapulisan natin at saka army na tumutulong sa evacuation center. Wag yung ambusin.
Aileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council has placed its operations center on red alert ahead of the onslaught of Typhoon Odette. Janice Inhente explains why.
To mitigate the effects of Typhoon Odette, which is expected to hit land over Caraga, eastern Visayas by Thursday afternoon or evening, the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC's operation centers, have been raised to red alert. Under red alert, all disaster officials in the region are required to report to their headquarters 24/7. 7 regions were classified as high-risk areas due to the possible effects of Odette. These are Mimaropa, Western Visayas, Central Visayas, Eastern Visayas, Northern Mindanao, Soxargen, and Caraga region. Over 331 million worth of food and non-food items have been deployed in the regions.
Yan ang nakapreposition sa 7 regions. Hindi kasama dyan ang nandito pa sa central office or sa central warehouse ng DSWD. Yung prepositioning doon ng relief goods ng DSWD doon sa kanilang mga regional offices ay naasahan natin na maaaring magamit yan on the 2nd or 3rd day pa ng insidente, and that is for 3 days after ng evacuation, actual evacuation.
According to initial reports, there were 39 families or 72 individuals that have been preemptively evacuated in 4 barangays in Rojas City, Capiz. They are residents of Barangay Baybay, Dumulog, Bara, and Cugon. There were also several families that were evacuated in Region 6, 7, 8, and Caraga, but exact details have yet to be provided by the NDRRMC. Janice Inhente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The World Health Organization warns everyone to stop underestimating the COVID-19 Omicron variant and to prepare for another possible super surge. Joselito Liquido will tell us why live. Yes, Joselito, good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening, William. World health experts believe that COVID-19 Omicron variant is already circulating in at least 77 countries, all while remaining undetected. Experts want to emphasize that the latest variant is spreading at a rate faster than ever compared to any of the previous variants. WHO officials are concerned that many are dismissing the variants to cause a milder illness, but are ignoring the troubles it can place on healthcare systems.
Surely, we have learned by now that we underestimate this virus at our peril. Even if Omicron does cause less severe disease, the sheer number of cases could once again overwhelm unprepared health systems. I need to be very clear. Vaccines alone will not get any country out of this crisis. Countries can and must prevent the spread of Omicron with measures that work today.
Tedros highlighted that choosing strategies to stop the pandemic is the wrong approach. Rather, the right approach is to practice all strategies against it.
It's not vaccines instead of distancing. It's not vaccines instead of ventilation or hand hygiene. Do it all. Do it consistently. Do it well.
Tedros added that those who are most vulnerable must be prioritized to vaccinate those who remain unvaccinated and protect those that are least protected. For some, boosters are highly encouraged after experts identified a small decline in vaccine efficacy against severe symptoms, and even though it is not confirmed to be fully effective against Omicron. The Director General stated that the UN Health Agency supports all countries in providing boosters as long as equity and prioritization is maintained, speaking after the serious vaccine hoarding last year. William?
Yes, Joselito, do you have an estimated global vaccination rate?
William, according to the World Health Organization, 41 countries are still below the 10% vaccine compliance, while 98 countries have not hit the 40% vaccine compliance as yet. In total, 57.6% of the world population has received at least one COVID-19 vaccine dose. Back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Joselito Liquido, reporting live from Malaysia.
With no administration bets for the presidential race following the withdrawal of Senator Christopher Bongo, some are asking who will receive the endorsement of President Rodrigo Duterte. According to Presidential Advisor for Political Affairs Secretary Jacinto Jing Paras, the president is unlikely to endorse a presidential candidate. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
According to Presidential Advisor for Political Affairs Secretary Jacinto Jing Paras, the president unlikely to endorse any presidential aspirant for now.
If he is now saying he will stay neutral, that means he feels that all these candidates which were allied with the administration, Bongbong Marcos, Ping Lacson, Manny Pacquiao, and probably even Isko Moreno, they should be given a chance to present themselves without him endorsing them. Yun ang nakikita kong naisip niyang Pangulo as of this time.
The CUSI-led Partido Demokratiko Pilipino Lakas ng Bayan or PDP Laban welcomes the decision of Senator Christopher Bongo to withdraw from the presidential race. In a statement, PDP Laban Secretary General Melvin Matibag said the party will support the best and most qualified candidate and will await the decision of President Duterte if he endorses any of the presidential aspirants. This is the statement of the group after presidential aspirant Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos said that Go's withdrawal signals consolidation of administration forces behind his and Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio tandem. President Duterte has yet to say who is backing for president with Go out of the running. Meanwhile, presidential aspirant Manila Mayor Isko Moreno is still hopeful that President Duterte will vote for him on May 2022 elections.
Sana ma-vote niya kung something. Kasi still a voter, one vote din yun. Sana ma-vote din niya yung mga kandidato ko. Kaya, as a candidate, he would always wish and hope for each and every vote and vote matter.
Earlier today, Moreno and his running mate Doc Willie Ong and the senatorial slate of Aksyon Demokratiko visited Iloilo. Senator Manny Pacquiao has met with political stalwarts in Davao del Norte. On Tuesday night, Pacquiao paid courtesy call to former Speaker and Davao del Norte 1st District Representative Pantaleon Alvarez. Pacquiao said that Alvarez raised the need for Visayans to unite. He also hinted of a broader alliance with his MP3 alliance, which involves PROMD, the PDP Laban, People's Champ, and Alvarez Partido Reforma, which has Senators Panfilo Lacson and Vicente Soto III as standard bearers. Other presidential aspirants like Vice President Leni Robredo and Senator Panfilo Lacson have no public engagement today. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
Leaders of several civil society organizations urged the Commission on Elections to resolve a filed petition seeking to cancel the certificate of candidacy of Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., an aspirant for president in the 2022 elections. The plea was filed by a group represented by former Supreme Court spokesman Attorney Theodore Te.
Bongbong Marcos lied and misrepresented. Nung nag-file siya, he ticked the box and he said wala siyang criminal liability. Meron eh. Meron. So talagang he lied. It's as simple as that.
All we are asking the COMELEC to do is stand by the truth, stand by democracy. We cannot let democracy go down the drain. We have to protect it, and COMELEC has the power to protect our democracy.
Meanwhile, in a statement, Marcos' spokesperson, Attorney Vic Rodriguez, says it is another cheap political stunt by people motivated by hate and extreme negativity who try to deceive the public, even the COMELEC, with their lies. Currently, there are 2 petitions to cancel the COC of Marcos. Under COMELEC rules, any candidate who will be disqualified cannot be substituted anymore.
The Senate and the House of Representatives have adopted the bicameral conference committee report on the proposed 5.024 trillion peso national budget. Senator Sonny Angara, the chairman of the Senate contingent in the BICAM, says they augmented the funds of several sectors, including health, with up to 30 billion peso increase. The total budget for the Department of Health is at 188 billion pesos, excluding the funds for the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation and several government hospitals.
The bulk of that is the special risk allowance at yung COVID hazard pay, benefits po ng ating health workers. Kaya, iba kaya sila yung iba nagpro-protesta. Wala yun sa NEPES, sa National Expenditure Program na sinabit ng DBM. Wala yun. So yun ang actually tinatanong natin. Bakit hindi sinama yun? Anyway, ginawa natin ng paraan.
The funds for the purchase of COVID-19 vaccines were also added with 45 to 50 billion pesos. The education sector, which got the lion's share of the budget with over 800 billion pesos, was also augmented for the limited face-to-face classes preparations. The fund for the controversial National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, or NTFL-CAC, was also increased to 17 billion pesos. Over 16 billion pesos was allocated to the Barangay Development Program, while an estimated 900 million pesos was lodged in other government agencies. Angara noted that they had to balance those who were in favor and not in favor of increasing the task force's budget.
95% is lodged in the Barangay Development Fund. Yun yung menu for projects na pinagpipilian ng mga local government units. Almost all senators are united there. Ayaw nilagay sa mga maintenance, yung mga training, gano'n. Gusto nila nakikita talaga ng tao yung resulta ng proyekto.
However, for Bayan Muna, the BICAM report is still not a full COVID response budget. House Deputy Minority Leader and Bayan Muna Representative Carlos Zarate believes the BICAM should have completely defunded the NTFL-CAC instead of giving it huge funds which can be spent for COVID-19 response rather than quote-unquote red tagging, spreading of fake news, and pork barrel. He also laments that the health budget is still far from the infrastructure budget, amounting to over 785 billion pesos. The budget will be sent to Malacanang for President Rodrigo Duterte's signature.
The second round of the national government's mass vaccination drive was launched today amid the threat of Typhoon Odette and the newly detected cases of Omicron variant of the coronavirus disease. JP Nunez will give us the details live. JP, go ahead.
Yes, Diego, good evening. National Vaccine Operations Center explains that it is important for citizens to receive COVID-19 vaccine to add a layer of protection, especially after reports that the Omicron variant has entered the country. Filipinos should take advantage of the second round of national vaccination days to receive primary dose of vaccine, while those who are qualified for booster dose, such as health workers, senior citizens, and immunocompromised, should do the same.
Primary vaccination, importante pa rin yan. Kasi yan ang parang unang battleground, unang layer of protection natin. Alam natin sa Omicron variant, pinakamarami ang household. So dapat lahat ng mga household members ay nabakunahan.
A second round of Bayanihan Bakunahan begins today. Several residents in Metro Manila took the opportunity to leave from work for a vaccine schedule.
Nung mga nakaraan ay busy po ako sa mga ginagawa ko trabaho. Kaya nung ngayon lang po ako bakante po yung yung time. Kaya pambaksin ako kasi kinakailangan para maproteksyonan tayo laban sa yung COVID pandemic. Paliban ko na lang muna yung trabaho ko kasi ngayon po talaga naka-schedule yung vaccination ko.
Mabsent lang po ako kasi mamaya may biyahe din po kasi kami mamaya. Para protektahan din po para makapasok sa planta. Sabi sir, sobrang halaga po kasi sa trabaho din po kasi namin bawal yung bawal yung walang vaccine hindi makakapasok sa mga planta.
There are others who have just recently decided to get vaccinated since they were previously hesitant of COVID-19 vaccines. But since Omicron and the continuous threat of COVID-19 are still present, they decided to receive their first dose today.
Naglakas na din ako ng loob noon, parang nagdadalawang isip. Dahil meron akong high blood, saka nagme-maintenance po ako ng goiter, sa gamot sa goiter. Nag-decide na po ako dahil natatakot din ako na baka yung ngayon, lalo na may virus na naman. Doon ako naglakas ng loob, baka ko yung virus na pumasok sa atin.
Pinag-isipan ko muna. Yun lang. Kasi di ba maraming mga balita na medyo nakakakaba. Parang kinakabahan, natakot din. Pero sa ngayon, siyempre kailangan natin para lahat na rin maging safe. Nag-decide na rin ako magpabakuna.
Despite the scaled-down mass vaccination in areas affected by the Typhoon Odette, the NVOC is still confident that the country will reach 7 million target vaccination from December 15 to 17 in regions that began today and those regions which will start next week. Diego, NVOC is now also studying to shorten vaccine dose interval to provide additional layer of protection to Filipinos faster. from the current 6-month interval of primary dose before receiving booster shot, they may consider 4 or 5 months of vaccine interval. That is our latest live. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, JP Nunez, reporting live from Quezon City.
The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas continues to gather information linked to the hacking incidents of some BDO Unibank Incorporated clients. The BSP, however, says further investigation needs to be done in tracing the perpetrators behind the scam. Asher Cadapan Jr. explains why live. Yes, Asher?
Arlene, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas initially discovered more bank accounts allegedly connected to the fictitious bank account used in the hacking of some 700 BDO Unibank Incorporated accounts. The BSP also confirms that their initial findings do not show that the said bank accounts belong to any employee of either bank.
So far, ang initial information pa lang namin, 2 to 4 accounts. Pero it doesn't mean that 2 to 4 person. So 2 to 4 accounts, we're still verifying yung specific identity nung account owners nung accounts na yun.
5,000 to 50,000 pesos were transferred from the affected BDO accounts to the bogus account open in the Union Bank. The alleged fictitious bank account was under a Mark Nagoyo.
There are real persons behind Mark D. Nagoyo. So yung pinag-transferan niyang account, meron na kaming information about the accounts involved. So we are coordinating now with the two banks para maimbestigahan further yung pinagpuntahan na account.
With this, the task force created by the BSP further investigates the incident. It also includes some of BSP's legal officer, its anti-money laundering counsel, and Deputy Governor Chuchi Funasher, who is in charge of financial supervision. BSP Governor Benjamin Jokna gave the task force 30 days to investigate and submit a report as to the extent of the incident. The BSP is also expected to provide recommendations and measures to prevent its recurrence. Meanwhile, the BDO has already started reimbursing the money lost from affected clients. They advise affected clients to go to their corresponding BDO branch with supporting documents to verify such occurrence in their account. The BSP has yet to confirm the total cost or even the estimated amount of money that was hacked. Arlene, with this incident, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas reminds the public to refrain from providing sensitive information, especially to unknown individuals. They also advise them to regularly monitor their account against any unauthorized transactions in their transaction history. The BSP likewise does not recommend using unsecured connection for internet, including Wi-Fi connections in establishments, especially for financial transactions. Harleen.
Thank you, Asher Cadapan Jr. reporting live from Quezon City.
And for the news abroad, at least 62 people have reportedly lost their lives in the city of PETITION in Haiti when a truck carrying gasoline hit an electricity post after it swerved to avoid a motorcycle, causing the gasoline to spill. Haiti has been experiencing fuel shortages, so when some residents witnessed the accident, some took advantage by hammering the tanker to punch holes and collected fuel for themselves. Some gas fell through the street canal and ignited by burning trash that started the explosion. The explosion not only claimed 62 lives but also put 48 people into hospital admission at the Justinian Hospital for burn treatment. Patrick Almoner, Deputy Mayor of Capaicia, believes the death toll will still rise as they continue with the search and rescue operations. Prime Minister Ariel Henry confirmed via Twitter that field hospitals will be deployed to assist in providing care to the victims. A national 3-day mourning has been decreed by PM Henry in memory of the many victims. In other news, longtime former NFL star Orenthal James Simpson, or commonly known as O.J. Simpson, was discharged from parole effectively December 1 after a November 30 hearing before the Nevada Board of Parole. He was originally set to be released by September 29, 2022, but was moved up to February 9, ultimately receiving an early discharge for good behavior credits. Simpson, 74-year-old, is completely free now, according to his lawyer in Las Vegas, Malcolm Laverne. He was previously convicted by the jury in Las Vegas in December 2008 and served 9 years in Nevada prison for his involvement in the Las Vegas armed robbery. Simpson refused to be interviewed about his future plans or his intention to remain in Nevada after being acquitted, his lawyer added. After 60 years since NASA set the goal, the Parker Solar Probe becomes the first ever spacecraft to enter the sun's atmosphere. Mavian Dog will give us the details live. Good evening, Maeve. Please go ahead.
Mariel, the milestone was announced at the 2021 American Geophysical Union Fall Meeting in New Orleans on Tuesday. And although the incredible feat occurred back in April, analysis and research have only been confirmed now. Project scientist Dr. Nur Rawafi, along with many other scientists, consider this a dream come true.
Dream come true. One of the major goals for the Parker Solar Probe mission is to fly through the solar corona, and we are doing that now. This is a huge milestone. It took us over 6 decades to come to this point.
Through the spacecraft's flyby in April, researchers found that the boundary of the solar atmosphere, called the Alfvén critical surface, is not a smooth circle around the sun, and is in fact composed of spikes and valleys. Parker made another fascinating encounter as it passed through a feature called pseudosteamer, which is a large structure rising above the surface of the sun and has been observed from Earth during solar eclipses. Parker's flybys in the future will be helpful in understanding the solar cycle and monitoring space weather caused by the sun, which can impact satellites, GPS, airlines, and astronauts in space. Marielle?
Thank you, Mavian Dog, reporting live from Australia. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Mariela Toza, reporting live from Perth, Australia. Good evening.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Hosea, chapter 14, verse 9. It says, "Who is wise, and he shall understand these things? Prudent, and he shall know them. For the ways of the Lord are right, and the just shall walk in them, but the transgressors shall fall therein." And those are the reasons behind the news, December 15, 2021. I am Harleen Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.